More states are cracking down on residential wholesaling, and just like I predicted, their regulators are getting smarter and closing the loopholes and the workarounds, including, guess what? Double closings, which I find ironic because every time I talk about regulation, everyone keeps saying to me, who cares about regulation? Just double close to avoid compliance. Easy, not a big deal. Did you take your stupid pills? Did you think they wouldn't come after double closings next? Well, in the latest round of wholesale regulation, Oklahoma is next on the docket. But wait a minute, didn't Oklahoma already pass wholesale regulation? Yes, they did, but they just passed a new law redefining wholesaling to include double closings. They've also added strict written disclosure requirements. They give the seller the right to cancel the contract, and the new law even bans filing memorandums. Now, I'm going to cover all of this, but whether you're wholesaling in Oklahoma or not, pay attention to this video because similar laws are coming to a state near you. I'll also cover the best alternatives and the ways to turn regulation into a huge opportunity. All that and more coming up. As the nation's leading advocate for the wholesale industry, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Oklahoma Senate Bill 1075 that was just passed into law and goes into effect November 1st, 2025. But before we deep dive this new law, let's do a quick refresher on the already existing law in Oklahoma. Known as the Predatory Real Estate Wholesaler Prohibition Act that went into effect exactly 4 years ago on November 1, 2021, wholesalers who publicly market their equitable interest for sale is considered brokering and must hold an active real estate license to do so. Now, I actively wholesale multiple deals every month with my partner Mark Gabriel in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the simple workaround is to double close every deal. In fact, we have a title company that does what's called a double closing in escrow, or sometimes referred to as a dry closing. This is where the funds from the cash buyer in closing 2 are used to fund the seller in closing 1. That means we don't even need to use transactional funding. Now, if you don't understand what a double closing in escrow is, I'll put a link in the description to a video that explains it in detail. So, double closings have been the workaround to not getting a license in Oklahoma for the past 4 years, and you may be delusional, but I'm not. I knew all along the day would come when the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission would figure out everyone was just doing double closings to avoid getting a license, and that they would eventually close the loop. Well, that day is here. Introducing Senate Bill 1075, and like I said, this goes into effect this year, November 1st. The first thing Oklahoma did was redefine what wholesaling is. Here's the new definition. Wholesaling is securing, negotiating, or facilitating a real estate transaction with the purpose of transferring, assigning, or selling their equitable interest in the property for financial profit. This includes entering into a contract to purchase with the intent of assigning or selling the contractual rights to another party before taking legal ownership. So let's stop right there. The key thing here that we all need to pay attention to is wholesaling, according to Oklahoma, is using our equitable or contractual rights to make money before taking legal title. That means an assignment contract is before taking legal title. A novation agreement is before taking legal title. Technically, a BC contract in a double closing is before taking legal title. And just to make sure, Oklahoma used very clear language about double closings. The law specifically states that wholesaling includes double closings where you, quote, simultaneously close 2 separate transactions on the same property, one with the original seller and the other with the end buyer. Now, this is a big movement in the wrong direction for wholesalers because Oklahoma is the first state to clearly identify double closings in the definition of wholesaling. Now, before we go on to the new disclosures and the other requirements to engage in wholesaling as it's defined, let me ask you all a question. Do you think Oklahoma is the only state who's going to include double closings in their definition of wholesaling? Of course not. I've been right about every other prediction I've made. I said they would be coming for double closings, and here we are. Everyone needs to wake up and pay attention. They are coming for traditional wholesaling in all its forms. Now let's look at what the new disclosure requirements are in Oklahoma. There are 3 things you must disclose to the seller in writing. First, that you may wholesale the property for a higher price. Second, the seller should seek legal advice before signing a contract with you. And third, the seller has the right to cancel the contract without penalty within 2 business days after executing the contract with you. Now, Oklahoma even provides the exact language you must use in your contract. Here's what the cancellation clause has to say. Notice required by Oklahoma law. You may cancel the contract at any time before midnight of, fill in the date, name of wholesaler, or anyone working for name of wholesaler, cannot ask you to sign or have you sign any deed or any other document until your right to cancel this contract has ended. See the attached note of cancellation form for an explanation of this right. You should always consult an attorney or community organization before signing any legal documents concerning your home. It is advisable that you find your own attorney. The law requires this contract to contain the entire agreement. You should not rely on any other written or oral agreement or promise. End of quote. Now, that exact notice I just read must be in 12-point font and next to the seller's signature on the contract. The Oklahoma Real Estate Commission will also provide the cancellation form that you have to include as an attachment to your contract so the seller has it. Now, we haven't seen that yet. The REC has until November 1st to provide that as a download on their website. Now, in addition, there are a few rules you must adhere to. First, you cannot act as an advisor or a consultant to the seller in any way, which we saw that language in the cancellation clause. Second, you cannot represent yourself as a licensed professional without having in your possession the certification or license. That's kind of weird. You have to, I guess, pull out your real estate license like you're a cop. Now, third, this is a big one. You are prohibited from placing any lien or encumbrance or cloud title on the property. So no more filing memorandums. In case you don't know, memorandums have been a standard practice for wholesalers to protect the seller or their buyer from cutting them out of the deal. So say goodbye from getting backdoored by sellers and cash buyers. By the way, memorandums are a hot topic right now in regulation. Rhode Island just passed a law making them illegal, and several other states have bills in progress right now to do the same. I've been saying for some time to stop filing memos because you have a target on your back. Okay, fourth, your contract must contain name, number, and address of the wholesaler. I'm guessing to make it easier for the the REC to come after you. Fifth, you have to include the address of the property, duh. Six, you have to include the total consideration to be given to the homeowner, so the price, I guess. Seventh, you have to provide a complete description of the terms of payment or any other consideration, including any services the wholesaler will perform for the seller before or after the sale. I'm assuming this would be like a moving service or trash out or maybe post-occupancy, things like that. Now, if you violate any of these disclosures or rules, the seller can terminate the contract anytime, meaning your contract is rendered invalid and unenforceable, and the seller can keep your earnest money. So what does this new law mean for Oklahoma wholesalers and really all wholesalers, and what should you do about it? I have a few thoughts on this. Obviously, you're going to need to clean up your paperwork and make sure you have all the right disclosures in writing. Second, there's no hiding behind what you do as a wholesaler. Wholesalers are going to have to explain to sellers what we do and then do a better job selling distressed property owners on the value we provide. We started doing this some time ago in my businesses. I just contracted a deal in North Carolina and I told the seller, I understand you want $205,000 for your property and I want you to get that price. Now, if you'll agree to give me a window of time, I'll take your deal to my network of local active buyers. Would you be okay if I add a fee on top of your price of $205,000 if I find you a cash buyer that can close in 30 days or less? Now, the seller said, yes, that's totally fine as long as I get $205,000. I don't care. Then I said, look, we're going to need to put an agreement in place, which I'll send over right now. But once we do, me and my team will work really hard to find you a buyer. But if for some reason we can't, I'll let you know right away and we can revisit how to handle it from there. Maybe we revisit price or we terminate our agreement and you can find another solution. Then I asked the seller, does that sound fair to you? The seller literally said, thank you for being open and transparent with me. Send me the agreement. Now, in that situation, I explained wholesaling in a way that is honest and easy to understand for a seller, and I even set proper expectations if I was unable to find a buyer. This is the new way to wholesale. Stop trying to hide what you're doing. Address the elephant in the room. Remember, at the end of the day, the seller wants to work with someone they trust. Honesty is the pinnacle of trust. Be honest, and you'll actually do more business, not less business. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about regarding how to pivot with all of this regulation. But before I do, I want you to know I created a document that has a breakdown of all of the different regulations by state. Now, I keep this updated as the new laws come out, and I'll give it to you for free. Just go to wholesaleregulations.com for that free download. Furthermore, me and several other industry leaders are finally putting together an association to stand up and protect our industry. To get notified on what we're doing and how you can get involved, go to nrewa.org and ask to join the mailing list. Now, I believe there's a lot we can do to stand up to overregulation and protect the wholesaling industry, but I'm also very pragmatic. I believe the future is doing what I've coined the takedown method, and me and my partners and students are gearing up and preparing for it. The takedown method is where you contract to buy a property at a discount, like we normally do, but rather than using our equitable interest to assign, double close, or novate, instead, you purchase the property using 100% funding. Then without a predetermined buyer, you trash out the property, take updated pictures, and list the property on the open market and resell it to the highest paying buyer. Now, the takedown method is a bigger commitment. You're funding and buying the property. It may take 60 to 90 days to turn deals. So it does take longer, but here's the good news. We've been doing this more and more over the last few years since regulation has been coming down, and on average, we are earning 2 to 4 times more than traditional wholesaling. Here's my honest opinion. All of this regulation is creating a huge opportunity for well-capitalized wholesalers. Here's the bottom line. The more difficult it is to wholesale, the less competition with sellers, which means 2 things will happen. Sellers will get less money for their properties, and takedown wholesalers will get bigger discounts and make more money to offset the risk. My question for you is, are you going to let regulation put you out of business or become an early implementer and adopt quickly? I, for one, will be ready. I did an entire series on how to do the takedown method, even how to get 100% funding for your deals. The smart thing for you would be to start gearing up for more and stricter regulation. So watch this next video where you can learn how to start doing the takedown method, and I'll see you on the next video.